Hey, want to learn how to prune fruit trees? Hello, George, Fat Engine Food Forest. I'm going to be doing my pruning today. I'm going to be pruning the food forest. Thought I'd take an opportunity to talk about how I do it. My microphone just died, so I'm not sure where I'll be picking this up at. But the size pruners I use, the different tools I use, and what shaping methods I use. We'll go down and do some sample pruning in just a moment here. But I want to talk about the basic tools and shapes that we use. So as far as shapes, a very general rule of thumb is going to be palm fruit versus stone fruit. Palm fruit is from the rose family. That's with multiple seeds, 5-petal flower. That's going to be your apples, your pears, your Asian pears, things like that. Your palm fruit, your stone fruit, on the other hand, is going to have the stone in the center of it. Think of it that way. The one pit. So peaches, plums, nectarines, like that. Generally here in West North Carolina, I try not to grow too many stone fruits because we are very receptive to disease. We don't get a lot of sun here in the mountains. And definitely on my backyard, it's not in a great area to do it. There's a few that we can grow. Look around for a variety if you want to grow them. But it's generally the shape that we use. We talk about the shaping between the stone and the palm. The stone fruit, the pitted fruit, like I said, gets a lot of disease. So generally we want to have a very open shape. So we can talk about like a vase shape for the stone fruit. And that allows all this sun to come in and the breeze to blow through it. First thing in the morning, last thing in the day, put it in the right spot on your property. Allowing to get all that moisture off. That air, that moisture on the leaves and the bark is what invites the disease in. So having that very open vase shape, we allow that sun and wind in, and it dries it off. Where the palm fruit, apples, pears, we generally have a central leader, one branch that goes up. It might change which one it is, but generally it's a tall one like this. I don't know if you can make it out. This pear behind me here probably blends into everything. When that happens, it's like that pear. 10 years ago, that was just a little twig I put in the ground. Now it's taller than my house, and I'm climbing to the top to prune it. So a few things. We end up not harvesting the fruit on the top of that. In a small backyard, we have too many other things going on in it if it's planted densely. And it also causes a lot of shade across our property. So in years since, I've learned a lot of my fruit, definitely on the sides of the property, the Asian pears and the apples and the pears, have all been shaped with that more of an open vase shape. Talking about that, I don't really do the vase shape though. It's more of a branches down on them. So if you look at an orchard, all their branches are kind of short and stump, and then there's a lot of branches going down off of those. What that's doing is mimicking nature. What that plant normally does, it grows up. It's a few 4 or 5 years before it starts getting fruit. After that, it's a small tree, and it gets those heavy fruits, and it pulls those branches down. When it pulls those branches down, it's telling that, hey, it's fruit time. So then it starts putting on larger amounts of fruit. So when our branches are facing up, we're going to have more vegetative growth. And once they're facing down, we'll talk more about this in the orchard. We'll show how we do it, how we accomplish this, what branches we look for, how we might modify them. I'll show I haven't done in a few areas, and I want to change that. So we have the stone. As a recap, we have stone and palm. Stone being the pitted fruit, palm having seeds. Stone generally is that open vase shape, and palm is generally a modified central leader. Here in our food forest, or in backyard orcharding, we generally want to keep things smaller, easier to manage, easier to harvest, and also let that sun and that wind in to keep the disease away. So we do more of that open vase shape even with our palm fruit, our apples and pears. But we want to go and look at how it faces down. 2 more things before we go and look. We'll talk about the types of tools we use and what we do for pruning. Other than shaping, we want to go for 3 things: dead, dying, or diseased. So branches that are rubbing real bad, we see the signs of disease on them, or we do their disease in the summertime, and ones that are dead and broken. For tools, we want to have at least 3 different sizes, starting with pruners like these. We make sure we sharpen everything, make it very sharp. Start with a good sharp edge. I carry a bottle of spray alcohol, so in between every tree, I'll give it a spray and sterilize it. Or if it's a disease, I'll do it in between cuts. I'll do a lot of the smaller pruning. Tipping on branches, we'll talk about it with these, or smaller cuts I can get to. Going up from that, we'll have the loppers. We can't get through the loppers, like folding saw. Quick and efficient. The last one I don't use very much, but when we need to, we want to have that branch for way up tall, for the taller ones. So we can clip those off or saw those off with a pole saw. Again, cleaning in between every tree at least, or if you think there's disease there, going ahead and in between cuts. All right, I'm going to pause here. We'll go down to the food forest. All right, I'm down here in the bottom of my annual garden, and I've got some fruit trees in here. I've got 2 apples and a pear. We can use those to see the shapes. So, apple tree right there, main stem, and then it bushes out. I've got squash and peas growing up it as well. But I'm really going to take a lot of the water sprouts on the inside of that off, but the main branches are facing out. This one's a lot easier to see it on close by here. Get the sun right. So these branches have been out, and I pulled them down. You can see bricks and stones that I've used. I've tied them around the branches and pulled them down. So my pruning, I want to keep that open and vase-like. That's normally going to be a stone fruit. But we do it with our apples here, because on the edge of the property, the sun comes up in the east, and I don't want to shade the whole garden here. One of my first trees was this pear tree 10 years ago, and we can see how big that's gotten. So it causes quite a bit of shade here. I also hardly ever harvest up top. I don't prune as well up there. You can see it's so hard to get up there. So this year I'm going to prune well up there and probably top that a little bit. Also see the bear scars all over it. I ripped some branches off this year. Broke some branches, ripped some branches, clawed their way up. Sharing the surplus. And then I have another modified central leader on an apple tree here, a smaller variety of apple, which I don't mind. That's actually the oldest apple tree. It's older than this pear tree, and the one behind it as well. So I left those modified central leader, mid-sized apple trees. The ones on the outside, got one there, one up top, and 2 over here. I give that open vase shape. So I've just finished pruning this first apple tree. And as I explained, some of these apple trees, which are pome fruit in the rose family, like pears and Asian pears, have seeds in them, compared to stone fruit, which have the stone in them, we'll say, the pit, are pruned differently. But I'm pruning these apples like I would a stone fruit, an open vase shape, allowing that sun in first thing in the morning on a small homesteading or small property in the city. We don't want to create too much shade. We only have so much area to work with, so we try to keep our trees small. It keeps everything at a harvestable height for us. We avoid disease and get good fruit set from having a nice open shape, allowing that sun and wind in. We avoid not harvesting fruit that's high up and making it easy to harvest the fruit down low. And we don't cast a big long shadow. Look at the difference here. So there's the apple tree. Normally it would be pruned like this real big, and we can see the sun pear tree here. That pear was one of my early ones, the moon glow, and it's a full size in the center of my property. So it casts a lot of shade. I'll probably work on pruning that back a little more. But since then I've learned to go with more of this open vase shape. I'm going to share some beginning pictures here. I had a lot of water sprouts. I didn't prune this last year. How I do things like see those bricks over there hanging. We'll go and look at those. I pull branches down like that. There's one behind it, shaped the same way that I haven't pruned yet. This one was the worst and needed the most work. But behind it here, there's another one I shaped the same way. Trying to keep a small shape to it. So here's a before this. I'll prune it and we'll see after in this one as well. It's going to look more like this. Here we can see I keep those bricks on there, keep those branches low. We're trying to Make sure that we removed everything on top of the branches so we go across the top of my hand and underneath. So we're not creating any shade. We just got the side branches out and where we want them. Ending them before they cross over. Getting the multiple bud sites on them. Shaping them where we want to go. So when I take a tip off of a branch, I pick the direction I want that branch to go. So if I want this to come this way, I'll look for a bud site that's on this side. And I'll snip just above that. So that's what I've done as I go around here. If I do have to shorten one, I'll pick a bud going the direction I want it to. There's one on this other side of this. Right there. Taking this out into here. All right, we'll see you in a little bit.